Did you miss me? In 2022, I created quite a lot of content. I had a lot of growth, and I ultimately ended up getting burnt out. I took an extended hiatus, as you may know, and it was necessary. I have a part-time job and I babysit full-time, so I just didn't have much free time for YouTube. But I'm hoping that I can make that change and get back to it. I really enjoyed doing it, and I'm sad that I had to take some time off. But I'm going to start up again with a top 10 of 22 video, my top 10 favorite crafts, DIYs that I did last year. Let me know in the comments which were your favorite, and if these are the ones that you thought I would choose. Number 1. This was a project that I had pushed to the side that I never finished from like 2020. And I decided to pick it up again last year to go ahead and finish it. And what I did was I had started making a rustic toolbox, and I had cut the 2 side pieces and the bottom piece previously, and they were just kind of sitting in my scrapwood pile unfinished until there was a challenge that I wanted to participate in, and I decided this would be the perfect thing to do to finish this project and to do for the challenge. It was the Power Up Challenge my friend Sarah from KITTEH DIY It hosts. So as you can see, I had the 2 sides, the bottom, and the handle, which was like a broomstick or whatever. So I am going to put it all together. I have a bunch of tools, a bunch of clamps I was doing outside. I used the staple gun, which shoots those little pin nails instead of, screwing it in. I don't have a brad nailer. I would have used that. And just using some wood glue, making the process really easy. So I use these corner clamps and some wood glue to hold it in place, and then I use the staple gun here to adhere or to shove those little pin nails in, and letting this set up and dry. And I already have a pallet hole drilled for the handle, so that will be pretty easy work. I just have to drill pallet holes into the handle itself, and it'll fit right in there. So now I need to cut some plywood for the sides. So I'm just taking some scrap that I have and a circular saw to cut my sides out of plywood. The circular saw makes quick work of this plywood, and I can just take the 1 piece and separate it into the 2 pieces that I'll need. And as before, I will use the Gorilla wood glue and the little pin nails from my stapler to put the sides together. It works out pretty well. Once that's all put together, the glue is dry. I sanded it all down. It looks great. And I could keep it like this if I wanted to, but I am going to go ahead and stain this. And I'm going to use the Varathane Special Walnut stain on this piece. And then you'll see the reveal shots. So it turned out perfectly, well, not perfect. As you can see, the handle's a little crooked, but it works perfectly well. It's my gardening tools, and it's still together today. I schlepped a bunch of stuff around in it, and it's really sturdy, and it works out great. And this is one of my favorites from last year. Number 2. The second one is one of my favorites. I took one of these fabric cube storage bins that I had picked up at Dollar Tree. We haven't had any of these in stock for a while, but that's where this one it did come from. And spoiler alert, I actually work for Dollar Tree and / Family Dollar, so I get the goodies. Anyway, I digress. So what I'm going to do is paint this. So what I'm going to do here is paint 3 of the 4 sides of the bin. I don't want to mess with trying to take off the handle, so I'm just going to leave the front part alone, and I'm going to paint the back and the two sides, leaving that front intact. Maybe at some point I will change that. I don't know, but I have not yet, and this has been, what, 6 months ago. So again, painting the three sides, and I'm not touching the bottom or the inside. I'm going to use the Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint and white Adirondack as my primer base, as it were, to make sure that none of that teal color shows through. So I will give that a couple of healthy good coats. I think this is just one coat. You can still see color sign, coming through there. But that's what I'm going for, is to get a good coverage from that white. Now with my two coats, I'm going to mix up my custom green again with the white Adirondack, and I'm using the, what's this, antique green, also in the chalk paint. All of this is chalk paint that I'm using. I broke out a few of my greens to come up with my custom color. I think I used the Waverly Moss as well. And maybe another one. I can't say, celery maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. So I'm just mixing that to get my color. And once that's done, I will also give it two coats, just using this brush to brush on my paint. So in Cricut Design Space, I'm designing the labels. Now I did 6 of these, so you're seeing me create a label for another one. What I'm doing is I'm pulling it out to the size. I'm using the font Moontime. I will be using white for all of them, so just changing it to reflect that. Now I have found that if you stretch your letters apart before you weld it, when it does the weld, it doesn't fill in the smaller, like the A's and the E's and stuff, so they will cut properly that way. And as we cricketers know, cricketers, it doesn't always line things up the way you want. So I'm just kind of rearranging them on my mat to get what I feel is a better use, less waste. Making sure to turn on the mirror, because I am using heat transfer vinyl. I am going to press this on. So you want to make sure you use the mirror option with heat transfer vinyl so it cuts properly the way you want it to. Letting that go, connecting, yada yada. Using my Explore Air 2. And I always have my dial set to custom, so therefore I can choose my material in Design Space. And I'm using the Everyday Iron-On. It is on mirror. I've already made sure of that. And only using the default pressure, and just need to load my material in my machine, and there it is. And just press the button and let her rip, and it cut it out perfectly fine. All of my letters are out. So I'm using the HTV Ront heat press just on their settings, and there's the bin in its final color after it's dried down. I think I let it sit for a day or so. And I'm just using the bottom of the bin as the support on the inside, using parchment paper to press. And I have it centered and making sure they're all pretty much going to be the same way. So I use the parchment paper to press, and I'm just using the settings they told me. It was 325 degrees for 15 seconds. Don't ask me about the pressure, because I have no idea. I just lean on the thing, whether it's too much, not enough. I have no idea. I just push on. And after I do a peel, I go back over it again with the parchment paper, again for the same settings. I read somewhere once that if you use that, you peel it off and you press it again with the parchment paper, it gives it a matte finish, which is what I like. And that's it. It's so easy. A little time consuming waiting for the paint to dry and everything, but so worth it. This was part of my craft room organization from last year. They have held up. They're still in great shape, and it was a very easy way to customize it. This is actually, I have this project features over on Home Talk as well. Yeah, it was just a really great, easy project. Number 3. For this next one, I came up with, just kind of randomly, I needed a case for this tablet that I was sent last year to review, and I bought a Bluetooth keyboard to go with it, and I wanted a case to hold it all together, something I could carry and customize, and I used the Scrabble board that I picked up at the thrift store. What I'm going to do is use the Scrabble board as the support for the case. So measuring the tablet on the board, figure out how much of it I need, where to cut, etc. I use this also in a challenge. Again, this was, most of these actually, I think, are for the Power Up Challenge my friend Sarah hosts. Again, if you don't know about that, go to Can Sarah DIY It. All that information is over there on her channel. But that's what this was for. And I needed it. So there we go. Scrap leather, macrame cord, beads. I used some wire, some heat transfer vinyl. I mean, I ran the gamut with this one. Making my measurements on the Scrabble board, because I will take that out and use my scroll saw to cut up all of my pieces. As you can see now, I have it outside on my scroll saw. Just chops right through this like butter. No big deal. Very quick. Very easy to cut it apart. So as you can see here, I have my pieces cut. So I have the front, the back, and like a spine. So it's kind of like a book. And that will give me enough room to put the tablet and the keyboard in together and give it enough room. It's not a problem. More than enough space for the two in there at the same time. So the next part is assembly. So I have this nice big piece of leather, and this is what I'm going to use to cover the case. It's rawhide. So I'm kind of getting an idea of where I'm going to glue it together. I want to make sure I have enough of a seam around the edges so I can fold it over. Just using my rotary cutter. I have my self-healing cutting mat underneath just to slice through this leather. This is a rawhide. I have a whole lot of scrap leather my mom has given me. We used to work at a place that put together like Western wear. So we got lots of scraps of different kinds of leathers, and why not use them, right? So I have my pieces cut, and I'm going to use a combination of hot glue and Eileen's tacky glue to adhere it together. I'll have you know, it's like 11 o'clock on Tuesday night. I'm tired, so and I'm out of practice, so pardon my little flubs here and there. It's been a long time, y'all. I've missed you. All right, so again, Eileen's tacky glue and hot glue to glue this all down, and I will jump to it being glued together. So now that's glued down. Now I just want to take some hot glue around the edges to create that seam, and I will trim the corners, etc., to make it all fit nice and tight. Right, that's finished, and I've got some other stuff I'm going to do to it. I'm going to create a liner for the inside, and then I'm going to add some decorative elements and other pieces, parts to it as well. And this is the moment when I realized that I forgot to cut out the hole for my camera. So I will come back after that's done. Right, so I'm putting down the liner, again using Eileen's tacky glue and hot glue to adhere it to the thing. And here's me realizing a little bit of a mistake that I made. I need to hold the tablet in place inside the case. So I just use some elastic and slice some little holes in the liner, gluing down the elastic so it will, you know, hold the tablet in place. And you can see there I have the hole cut for the camera. And I will show you why here in a minute, why I wanted to do that. You know, I have a phone case that's not too dissimilar from this, the idea of this. So the idea was basically one of those, you know, purse phone cases or wallet phone cases, you know, but obviously on a larger scale because it's for a tablet. So, and there's no elastic. Mine is magnetic. The case and the for the phone and the little wallet thingy that go together are, it's magnetic, so I can just slap it in there. But I was worried what that would do to the tablet, so I didn't use anything magnetic like that. I do have a little magnetic clasp on the outside, but that's no big deal. So once that's done, I can finish gluing down the liner. All right, now that's done. I do actually end up adding a second one, which you'll see, but it will hold it in place. And there you see the hole for the camera. It was a little bit off, but you know, again, now that I have a better idea of how to do this, I could do it again. You know, I could try again and make a, you know, an even better upgraded version of this, and maybe I'll do that for this year. But there you go. You know, it's in the case, and I can film with it if I want to, take pictures like I just did there. And it's, you know, works out pretty good. It does slide a little bit, but again, I do add a second piece of elastic to prevent that from happening. And now that I have that done, I want to do the same thing, add a piece of elastic to hold down the keyboard as well. Right, so what I did was I added a secondary layer of the fabric to help protect the tablet when it's in there. You see the second piece of elastic that I added as well. So the fundamental part of this is finished. Now I'm going to use the Cricut. I'm going to cut out some heat transfer vinyl and put some cute little decorations on the outside just to give it that personal, just to make it a little more, you know, yeah, zhuzh it up a little bit. Taking a piece of that scrap leather to create a clasp, a magnetic clasp to, you know, hold it closed when it's just sitting down or, you know, whatever. A little extra security. So that's real easy. That didn't take but like maybe 3 minutes to do. So like I said, the next part is adding some decor to the outside. So I'm using some white heat transfer vinyl. You put the sticky or shiny, you use the shiny side down on the mat. The dull side is up with heat transfer vinyl. That's the side you're going to cut, is the dull side, because you're going to press it onto your piece. Using the tablet, I have Cricut Design Space on there, and the great thing about that is when I'm signed on to Cricut Design Space on my tablet or on my phone, it also accesses everything that I do in Cricut Design Space on my computer too. So if I am in another room and I want to create something, I can do that, finish it up on the computer, vice versa. If I need to use it somewhere else, I can take my Cricut with me and I can still access my designs that way. So I'm doing a mandala. It's a boho design. It's just a boho design on this. I found 3 different ones that I'm using. Sure were a pain to wheel. Do you see how detailed those are? It took like an hour and a half for me to weed these out. But how gorgeous, right? So I can just do everything right here from my tablet. Look at those. Aren't they gorgeous? I do kind of screw it up a little bit, but it works out in the end, so it's no big deal. So I just need to find the placement of these, and I had it already figured out in my head, which doesn't always translate to the proper placing. It didn't in this case, but you'll see. It all works out fine. So I'm just getting my layout together, and then I will use, I just used my regular iron on this one because I didn't have my heat press at the time. This was, wow, pretty early on. I think it was like May or March, something like that, of last year when I did this. And I didn't get the heat press until like June. So, yeah. Using parchment paper and a piece of linen, a press cloth, to keep the leather safe. And just in case, and just using on the highest setting on my iron. And if you hear bells during this video, I have a new kitty. And he's on my lap and he's being obnoxious. I will insert a little video clip. Here I'm using like a 10 or 12 gauge soft, kind of a soft wire. I don't have a clue where this came from. It just kind of appeared in my craft stash, so I have no idea what it's for or when I got it. But I'm going to use that for the handles. For this case, I'm just going to bend it, thread the thicker wood beads. I wrap the ends with the macrame cord because, as we all know, hot glue and metal don't stick together, but hot glue and fabric. So that's what I'm doing. Again, if I knew then what I know now, I would have been better prepared. I sketched this out in a book and just kind of flew by the seat of my pants on this one. But it turned out great, as you'll see. I think it did. I think it's gorgeous. I love this. This is one of the projects I'm most proud of. And look at that. It works perfectly well. It's still in great shape. Nothing's coming apart. Holds my tablet in place. Keeps everything secure. I even have a pen slid in there and a little mini charger slid in there too. I may do some more to it, but I'm going to make a little tassel just because, you know, it's boho and you can't have boho without a tassel and beads. So there it is. And I think it's adorable. I just love it so much. One of my favorite projects of this last year. Yeah, it's just stunning to me. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Number 4. This one's pretty easy. I've got 4x4 canvases, 4x4 canvases, and I'm going to make some modern art with these. And I'm just taking 4 of these pieces, and I'm going to use just some all-purpose caulking and texturize them. And I just put all 4 down together, putting the caulking on top, just using a glove and smearing it about. They will all be different this way. Now just let those dry. All right, mixing up some Waverly White chalk paint and Waverly Ink chalk paint to give me a gradient effect on these. I just want to do like white, black, gray, colors. I'll start with the white, and I will paint one of these completely white. One will be completely black, and then I'll mix for the other two. Here I've added a little bit of black to that white to give me a lighter gray. Again, added a little bit more black to that to give me a darker gray. And then straight up black, the ink color of the Waverly chalk paint. Now after doing 2 coats, I'm going to coat them with some matte Mod Podge just to seal in the paint and the caulking. And now those are all dry. Now I need to come up with a way to hang it. So I'm using some black macrame cord, and I'm going to put these together so they hang in a gradient. Turn them all over, spacing it out. So I can just, using my regular old stapler, and I'm just going to staple down that cord in a fairly straight line so everything hangs evenly. And there it is, all put together. And I still have this hanging up on my house, and I just really like it. It was simple, yet very modern, very clean. Let me know what you think. Number 5. Once again, using those square canvases, they're about 4x4, I think. This time I'm going to use 5 of them, and I'm going to make a planter box out of them. So I'm going to glue them together like a box, but without a top. This one is one of my big time favorites too, and again another one that I've left out. Using some leftover soda box cardboard, I am cutting the bottom. I actually only used 4 of these canvases instead of 5. I think my pack had 12 and I wanted to keep an even number. It's a thing, I'm sorry. So I'm going to layer them all together with Mod Podge, make a thick bottom for this piece, and I'm using popsicle sticks to help glue these corners together, to kind of put it together so it'll all fit. I'm using popsicle sticks for that. Here's the box put together, and I have my bottom there. I'm going to glue even more. I don't know, this was almost a year ago, don't ask. I get it sorted either way, so I have 2 bottoms, I guess, on the inside and on the outside. It's all fine, it's good. So I glue more of that cardboard to the bottom. All right, now I'm going to take some of that same caulking that I used before, and I'm going to coat it. And I'm just using a piece of scrap cardboard to spread it out. I don't want the... I wanted a little bit smoother of a texture on this than on the previous little paintings. I wanted to make it look more like a, I don't know, kind of more like stone, I guess, as it were. So as you can see, I am scraping from the bottom to the top. And I'll repeat this on all 4 sides, only on the next side I will scrape from side to side. So top to bottom, side to side, top to bottom, side to side. Right, I've got all the sides done. As you can see, the difference in the texture, I even to the bottom. And now I want to build the stand, so I'm just going to use some tumbling tower blocks from the Dollar Tree to come up with a stand for this planter. So I'm just figuring out my spacing, how I want to make it work. Do I want it to be that far apart? I don't know. So I'm pretty satisfied with how that, I think that's going to look. So I just need to figure out how to reinforce. I'm just using a couple extra blocks to secure that center. And I'll use a combination of hot glue and wood glue to put this together. Just using some little dabs of hot glue for instant hold, and get my clamps out. Let that sit. And now I'm just figuring out how to attach the feet, trying to get everything even. And I just drew a line to help me line up where my feet are going to go. And again, wood glue, hot glue. And now that is all done. It's secure. I can set the box in there. Looks pretty good. Now I'm going to paint. And I'm using the Folk Art Home Decor chalk paint in Sage. And I'm going to paint the stand in Waverly chalk paint in ink. This is one of my favorites from last year as well, and it's still sitting up on the shelf. I think it turned out exactly what I wanted it to be. Number 6. This next one is a dupe of something that was done by XOMaCenna on her channel, and I'm making my own version of hers using what I had on hand to try to come up with something that was pretty similar to what she had done. If I have any other dupes, I'll make sure to link all of those videos below in the description box. So I'm just using the florals that I have on hand in a bamboo circle. It's not embroidery hoop, but something like that. So I'm just using these pieces of, I think they're supposed to be like a wheat kind of, hay, straw, whatever. Just these fall-ish type things, and just putting it together in a, kind of like a wreath. Speeding up through this, I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, really. I'm just using some floral wire, some hot glue, putting it all together. There's really not a whole lot to it. It's just, kind of a time-consuming thing, adding these pieces parts, but the final result ended up looking really great. And again, it's one of those that I really enjoyed making it. I had done this for the Try It Tuesday challenge from Unicorn Dust Designs that she puts on once a month. I think that's what this one was for. It was last summer, I think. I don't know. But this was one of my favorite videos that I had done as well. There is just using some eucalyptus, I guess, sprigs. I couldn't tell you where I got these florals. Some were Amazon, some were Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, Dollar General, Walmart, just from my stash. That's pretty much it. Just this along me adding these pieces and parts and whatnot. So I know it sounds boring, but there's not a lot to it. Just glue, more glue, some wire eventually, some flowers. I'll just go ahead and skip ahead to the end. You're not missing anything by not seeing the whole process. After adding some little flowers to it, that's the end of that, and it's really cute, and I think it was a pretty decent dupe. Number 7. For this piece, I am duping DIY Danny, and she did some textured art on her channel. So I'm going to do the same thing here, and I'm using a large sized canvas, and I'm using some drywall mud, and I'm going to create textured art. Much like the other one that I did earlier in this video, putting a layer of this, well, in this case, it's drywall mud, not silicone, but spackle, I guess. So I'm going to put a layer on top of the canvas, spreading it out. I'm just using my hand, gloved hand, to spread out a layer of the mud on the canvas. And I will come back, as you'll see here in a minute, with more, and that will be my texture layer. This is my strength. I don't know, whatever. It's my base layer. So there I have the base layer on, try to smooth it out a little bit, and we'll let that sit and dry. All right, so that's dried, and as you can see, it's cracked, but that's okay because now I'm getting to the artistic part of this where I'm going to add more of the drywall mud, and this is where I will, you know, put different textures in this. So again, gloving up, and I'm just gonna throw some layers down and using different tools to make different textures, you know, whether it's you know, little circly bits or little slashy bits, scrapey bits. See, I'm using a Ginsu knife for this part. Just whatever I have around to make different textures and shapes. And I just continue on adding things here and there, just whatever I feel like a spot needs to have. Now I'll let that sit and dry overnight. Now that has dried, so next what I'm going to do is use this Rust-Oleum chalk paint in linen white, and my chippy brush, I'm going to brush the entire thing in this white paint. I'm going to go ahead and seal the whole thing with this Folk Art acrylic sealer. I love this one so much. I think it's just stunning. It's probably one of my favorite DIYs to this day. But let me know what you guys think. Number 8. Here's another dupe, and this one is not from a creator on YouTube or anything, but this one is from an Etsy shop that I saw, and I thought it was really cool, and I thought I would try to recreate it with some of the scrap cardboard that I have. So I'm using my Cricut, and I think some of this footage got cut off in the beginning, but I'm cutting out a crescent moon shape. If you can see over there to the left, I already have some cut out. Just something very simple. The Etsy shop had this piece made out of wood, and I did not have any on hand that I could use, so I'm just using my Cricut and some cardboard to do a lot of layers of these crescent moons that I will use Mod Podge and glue together. Now after my like 7 layers of cardboard and all the Mod Podge, it's a pretty solid piece, pretty sturdy, and apparently texture is the name of the game today because I'm using the caulking again, and I'm going to create some texture on this. It's not quite like the Etsy version, but close. So I have it all caulked with the silicone caulking, and I'm going to use a Waverly chalk paint and ink. I'm going to paint the whole thing black. All right, that looks really good. And again, I'm going to seal it, and I'm going to use the matte Mod Podge to coat that all. And my screen got my thing got foggy for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway, to keep with the Etsy version, I've got some sticks and some other greeneries, florals and whatnots from my stash that I'm going to use. This is the version on Etsy, $215. So I'm like, I would love that, but I think I can make my own similar to it, and I think I accomplished it. So again, adding all this stuff to it, and that's what it looked like finished. And I love this thing, and I still have it hanging up now. I'm just going to take some jute twine and hot glue in the back and make a hanger, and let's see how that looks. There it is, finished, hanging up on the wall. And again, another one of my favorite, possibly one of my all-time favorites, along with that last one I did. This one is just, in my opinion, probably my best and most beloved piece I've ever created. I love the detail. I love all the different textures and colors in this piece. It's up all year long. I adore it. Number 9. All right, this dupe is definitely one of the most challenging things I've done to date, and last year especially. So if you haven't seen, this is a dupe from something that was done on the TheSorryGirls channel, and it was specifically Becky who did this one. Now, she had picked up an antler wreath form thing, I guess, when she was out thrifting. So hers was already together. Mine is not. So my challenge obviously is to put this together in a roundish wreath-ish, form-ish shape. Okay. If you go to the description box, you'll see the link to my full video of my 3 dupes that you see in this video as well, but also the links to their video too. So that being said, now let me just tell you, antlers here for me are a dime a dozen. I've got a boatload of skulls, antlers, all that stuff. My husband is a hunter. He does hunt deer, but you can find antlers out in the woods. Okay. You don't have to buy them if you can go and explore safely. You'll probably find some if you go at the right time of year. So, or you can buy them. I mean, either way, whatever works. So what I did here was I got my shape-ish and I'm going to make a whitewash with Waverly white chalk paint and water to brighten them up even further. As you can tell, they're already bleached out, but I'm trying to get closer to the project that Becky did from TheSorryGirls. So I'm giving it a whitewash to brighten it up even more. So here it is with the whitewash on. You can see it also covered that wire. I did use that and hot glue to hold it together. So the next part's just going to be adding all the pretties. And for that, I'll be using a bunch of stuff from my stash. And I have a lot of it. It's not going to be exactly the same, obviously, because I don't have the same stuff, right? But I just picked through a bunch of the stuff from my stash, grabbed stuff I thought would be close, and I'm just going to slap it all on there with some hot glue. It's a very long process, and I'm not going to make you watch it all, but as you can see, I'm picking some of these. I'll, lay them out and see what works. So here I've got the greenery all glued to the bottom, and I'm just going to take some little flower buds and stick in some places and glue it down. And now I'm going to add some macrame cord for the hanger, and let's see how the finished project looks. Now I think this one turned out great. I've had it hanging up, but currently I have it sitting on a shelf with a candle in the center. It's beautiful like that. I just love it so much. Number 10. Now this last one it is my magnum opus as far as 2022 goes, okay? So I took this thrifted, badly repainted room divider and I hand drilled as a custom pegboard. Okay, hand drilled with a drill, not a drill press, because that would have been easy. No, I hand drilled all of the holes in this thing to make a custom pegboard. Right, it was crazy. So as you can see, it has this texture on it. I don't want the texture. And as I was doing it, I didn't realize that these were separate layers that I could have just taken apart, but I didn't. This is my test area to see how well I could drill through it, and it worked okay. That causes a whole other thing, but I am going to drill 1,684 holes by myself in this thing. So let's go. Right, so my plan to excuse me, get rid of that bumpy texture is to use drywall mud, which I have done a layer here, testing it out. So I'm just scraping the drywall mud on and then sanding it down to smooth it out. And then I will drill accordingly. So as you can see, it's super bright outside. The sun is hitting me right on. So I used my Cricut and I created a template on a sheet of 12 by 12. So each template is 11 by, it has holes 11 by 11, I believe, something like that. So I'm just going to drill right through the holes. And I made a few of these templates so I could work, you know, try to work quick. This is a several day project for me. Thankfully it was the middle of, you know, I say Texas summer, but it was really technically spring, but you know, we're talking 85-degree days, no clouds, you know, just beating sun. So everything was able to dry very quickly. I could work outside, didn't have to cover anything, just let it go. It was fine. So here I have it laying out. I don't have any sawhorses or anything, so I'm just using some stools to lay it out. And then I can get to drilling. All right, so you see I have my template guide down here. And I'm just using masking tape to kind of hold it in place. Tested it already and drilled some holes. It's working out good. I used some interior paint to paint everything first, knowing that I would probably have to go back and give it a second or third coat after I got done. It works out in the end okay. Again, if I knew then what I know now, right? And I think I'm using a 1/4 inch drill bit. I don't remember. Whatever one fit the little peggy thingies that I have. I did this for the Power Up Challenge. Again, my good friend Sarah from Sarah DIY hosts that challenge. And she'd actually sent me a bunch of pegboard accessories, knowing that I was going to be doing this. And she was super excited to see how this would turn out. But so I just used those to figure out the size of holes I need to drill. And here I go. You just see me drilling away and drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling some more. I think you get the picture. 9 panels, all those rows. Surprisingly, my drill bit didn't break or dull or any of that. It's still 100%. This is sped up at, I don't even know what speed. It took literally 2 days to get all the drilling done because I could not with my hands. I just could not do anymore. But that's it, all drilled. And another layer of paint. You can see it's in some of the holes. It's no big deal, right? Definitely a labor of love or insanity. Depends on who you ask. And that's how it looks with some of the stuff on it. I just threw a few things on it just to get it set up. It doesn't look like that now. Over the last 6-8 months, I've utilized it to its potential, I think, and well, it doesn't really look pretty now, but it's very useful. So those are all of my favorite projects of 2023. I want you to let me know which one of these 10 is your favorite, or if you have a different one from my channel that you liked from last year, leave it in the comments below. As always, spread that YouTubey goodness. Like, share, comment, subscribe on all the channels that I linked below in my description box, anyone I shouted out. You know, just spread that love. Thank you guys so much for sticking around with me, hanging in there. Thanks for welcoming me back to YouTube. I'm so glad to be here. Yeah. Stick around for more. I hope this is going to be a great year. Take care, y'all. Bye.